Report from Santa Fe is made possible in part by grants from New Mexico Tech on the frontier of science and engineering education. For bachelor's, master's, and PhD degrees, New Mexico Tech is the college you've been looking for. 1-800-428-TECH.
I'm Ernie Mills. This is Report from Santa Fe. Two guests today, two very important guests. State Representative Murray Ryan, who is the Dean of the New Mexico House of Representatives. Representative Ryan, living in Source City, New Mexico. State Representative G.X. McSherry from Luna County. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Murray, let's take a look at the legislature the way it was. I think I left the state for a bit in 1969 to go to Vietnam. While I left, you sneaked into the legislature. And we know this, the way it was then. We know the way it is now, and I'd like to take a look, if we can, where you think the legislature is going. Can you go back to 69?
I am certain in those early years there was a lot more dignity, civility, if you want to use that word, and I think it's part of the heritage of serving in the legislature. People took responsibility. The senior members sort of guided the young ones. In those years, it was unusual for a first-timer or a freshman to be very much seen. He was sort of in the background. I know in my case, certainly, I was scared to say a word the first full term. I kind of feel things. Nothing wrong with newcomers participating, but I think if you have the discipline, and I use that in a positive sense, lets people know there is a system, they'll work into the leadership positions and have a little bit more say so. So I guess if I could put it on one word, it would be civility, along with consideration and a sense of pride. I think maybe that's missing somewhat. Things go on the floor, and I guess I'd be able to tell you and say that this more pertains to the Senate. Some of the languages, the personal insults flung back and forth, it really hurts me. I do think that under the strong leadership of our Speaker, Raymond Sanchez, we don't have that problem. I don't believe we would anyhow. I think anybody in the House, anyone of 7 could preside, and it still would be a great area of seriousness, sobriety, and pride in the institution.
You know, I used to be an old thing up there. I think a state senator was asked, he had a burglar where he lived. And they said, there was a burglar in the house. He said, no, he said, there could be in the Senate, but never a burglar in the house.
I think that's react.
GX, I must say we were surprised a bit. I know there were personal reasons that you used for stepping down. But were there any other reasons, the fact that it might not be as I guess, as reassuring to you serving in a legislative position now as it did before?
Well, no, really and truly not. Ernie, there's a time in a person's life when they have to make a decision. Like I did when I first ran for the legislature, there's a time to get on, there's a time to get off, and just felt after weighing all of the things that you might say that were in personal life, it was determined that it would be the time to get off. The fact that it is, I had thought about it very seriously before running the last time. And so, but I had, just to be perfectly frank with you, I had all my petition signed and my campaign cards printed. It was Ray's Ramble, but we took it under very serious advisement after the session and decided that we would not pursue the campaign any further. And it seemed to be what surprised a lot of people, including myself. But that was just, the reason I did. It was nothing that happened within the legislature that caused me to do that, because I have a great respect and great pride in having served in the New Mexico legislature. I was a little bit concerned about leaving 2 or 3 bills for the interim committee. As you know, I chair the Ag and Water Resource Committee, and several of my bills for to be acted with you were tabled in my committee to be heard in the interim. And they're still there to be heard in the interim. To guide those through, and I don't know whether we'll have an interim committee or not, but water, as you know, Ernie, is very important to the state of New Mexico, and I become quite involved in that. But that is probably the only area of concern that I really carry with me.
When we've done numerous radio shows, you and I, and your concern with water was very much appreciated by the people up north. People have a tendency to forget. We have a large agricultural community in northern Mexico. And we sat down one day, and I had people somewhat overwhelmed to realize not only were you very fluent in Spanish, but and you're a poet, and there was a very poetic audience up north, educated audience. And the other, though, is we got around talking about the Asaikis. And so you have widespread there. But you still serve during the interim. Both you and Representative Ryan will still be here during the interim period. I would worry about one other area there. You had worked on some of the water problems with New Mexico State University, and which is it's the second largest contributor, agriculture, to the economy of the state of New Mexico. And I sometimes wonder if people realize the importance of the legislators from that part of the state. You have concerns about who's going to be picking up the hammer for agriculture?
Probably one of my main concerns, however, the Vice Chair, Representative Joe, very, very interested in water, very knowledgeable. And I'm counting on Joe to really step in and pick up the ball, if you please. And I say that in Joe, an old football player. And yeah, a very good coach. However, you mentioned about the Asaikis, and one of my efforts is to bring the Asaikis into the loop of water and water discussion throughout the state. They felt neglected. And going back to the SAIC, I grew up on the SAIC. In fact, the matter is we still have SAICs in the southern part of the state. SAIC are not just particular to the northern part of the state, so they need to be in the loop when you're talking about water. And so they felt a little bit neglected. I just made it a point to be sure that they were included in the loop.
I must be frank to Representative Ryan, because we talked about the concerns of like New Mexico State University as such that GX has been very involved in. You're coming out of Soda City, Grand County, that area, and the number one contributor to the economy of the state is the extractive industry. And that's where Phelps Dodge is. You had worked many years with the Kennecott when prior to Phelps Dodge. Again, it concerns we do have kind of seniority that you have and the respect you have. The loss of a member like yourself, it could be devastating to that part of the state.
Yes, I'll try to be as candid as I can. I certainly have no dreams about being anything close to being irreplaceable. But the seniority gives you the contacts, the names, and how to get things done. And that's going to be a little bit difficult for our corner of the state, both GX and I leading at the same time. I have worked diligently for the best interest of our county. When it comes to the appropriate time to do it, I certainly support Phelps Dodge all I can. We're in the midst of a major controversy down there based primarily on the union contract between Phelps Dodge and the local steelworkers union 890, and each side has its own argument. I respect the position of both. The unions, I think, have chosen to use some extraneous subjects discussions to try to force the hand of the company. There's been some effort to deny them renewal of the permits and things that have absolutely nothing to do with the real issues at hand, but it's a tactic to slow things up that maybe force Phelps Dodge at the bargaining table, which will not happen. Phelps Dodge is very firm. I consider them a fair and a very decent employer, and I'm not going to be stampeded into anything. Could I digress for a second that I would miss it? I had this morning walking through the Capitol for a time since the adjournment. Definite feeling of nostalgia. See the employees, guys in sergeant of arms, and attendants of the next door, chatting with you and your wife, and all of my friends I've known so well. And you can't dismiss 30 years of friendship and contacts just overnight. And I do feel a strong feeling of nostalgia. I'd have to say that does not include a second thought. I think I made the best decision at the time. But it's been a great, great experience. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
We were talking earlier because I talked to Chuck Strang down at Western New Mexico University. They have a program they're working on with Phelps Dodge. And it was very interesting. He said they're going out to Phelps Dodge and take some of the education programs there, and said it's remarkable the intelligence of the workers out there. They're very bright people. He was very impressed. I look up here, for example, KOAT-TV is bringing up another person to take over the bureau up here. One of the young ladies coming up, former Eastern New Mexico University graduate from the School of Communications. And it's interesting because you back at Aaron McDaniels came out of Eastern. So we still are made up of more counties and more communities in the state than Rio Rancho and the other third two counties in the state. GX mentioned the term in the loop. He mentioned the loop earlier. And I noticed that Representative Ben Lujan, also been around a long, long time. He is the House Majority Whip, I believe. And at a pre-session meeting of the Legislative Council, he said, I hope the governor understands that when he deals with the leadership, meaning two men, that's Speaker Sanchez and Senate President Pro Tem Manny Aragon, that he's not speaking for the entire 112 members of they don't speak for all the members in the legislature. I've had more than one member say that if they're not from Albuquerque, they're not in that little group, even though they're Democrats or they're close to the the leadership, that they're somewhat out of the loop up here. Is that a justifiable complaint?
I believe it is, yes. And I think probably the time to be a little bit more inclusive. I don't know that you can have a committee of the whole 7 members and discuss every issue, but I think, and of course I'm in the minority party, so I don't have the privilege of being a committee chairman, but I do think that times the committee chairman in both houses, House and Senate, are not consulted to the level that they probably should be. We have strong leadership in the House. I said that several times to you. Raymond Sanchez, his family, his mother and dad, his brother, just dear, dear friends of mine. And I think Raymond runs an open operation the best he can. He can't consult with each individual 7 members, but I think a little bit more democratic approach would be indicated, I would think, so that the key people feel that they are part of the action, because eventually they'll get frustrated, discouraged, and may do something different. That wouldn't be too good for the state.
GX, what do you feel about that? Have you been in the loop, out of the loop?
Well, partially in the loop. Not as much as I would like to have been, but being removed from Santa Fe or Albuquerque, 5 hours Santa Fe, driving and driving back 5 hours, it's a little inconvenient, and I can understand why when they have to have a quote-unquote caucus of leadership that we're not all included. But many times I've been just a little frustrated as to what's happening because I was not in the quote-unquote tight loop.
So we have a tight, I think I get stuck on that, a tight noose.
That's a good description.
We're not careful, but frankly, if I were from your communities, I would immediately be going after both of you and say when January 1st rolls around and your successors sworn in, that I would want you up representing the communities in one way, shape, or form. We have a person who does represent people from your community, and I know Cheeks also, and that's Doug Weiland, who recently had some surgery, and I'm always happy to say he has the constitution of a bull. And the doctors told me that he was going in for surgery, and it'd probably take about maybe 15 days or so before he got out. They were leaving him out in 3 or 4 days. So, but again, we're looking again at people that gain respect over many, many years. They didn't come in like gangbusters. The honesty, the integrity. And Ari, when you were talking about the respect for lawmakers, this is a little bit like what we go through with school teachers. There seems to be a change. We're also assuming that computers are going to take the place of teachers, and there's an attitude toward educators that isn't good. But that same attitude is that I see about lawmakers, and you always say, well, I didn't mean you, when they say this. What can we do to improve?
I think, and this, of course, is what the leaders of the country at presidential level, individual responsibility. I do think that voters can participate in being for sure that the person for whom they're voting and who may actually come up here is a responsible, somebody they can be proud of. I think that would be the one way to try to correct it. Again, I ask indulgence to make one quick comment. Having served as region in Western, I think that more than a lot of people, you have a great interest in that school and you find a job as a region. We're up here this time trying to recover some $370,000 for the nursing program that was peremptorily told by the governor. I'm hoping that we can get at least some of that money back. Our school is doing extremely well in there, and we want to keep it on a roll, and this really hurt. I have no idea why the governor chose to veto it, primarily for the purpose of training nurses and occupational and physical therapists. Sorry for the interruption, but I wanted to remind people to more region on that at one time.
Yeah, we've got to put in a post of plug, though, to lose coming up. That's what it's all about. The governor was asked, and lawmakers were asked, to address the problem at University of New Mexico about changing the Constitution, about, I guess, allowing more leeway in the selection of a university president. I feel strongly, and I don't think it's a part of a movement to say how he feels about that, except it seems to me that we're looking at a lot of laws, and we say if a situation comes up, change the law to meet the situation. We had this when nobody did anything about changing the law about how to find a successor when Congressman Steve Schiff passed away. And so he said, let's call a special session and change it. Why not change these things when you're not under pressure? You any strong feeling about the university request, Jax?
I'm supporting the request, yes. I am. I think that it's necessary. The only thing I regret is it had come under a pressure time. It could have dealt with this earlier on and not gone through the throes of concern that we're faced with today. And that applies to not only that, but many other things that we work with. We should be able to anticipate. And time change, Ernie, and we need to change with them. Back at 30 years ago, like Murray indicated in his opening comments about how things were then. And I've noticed in the 16 years that I've been in here that things have changed not only in state laws, but legislature, and need to change them, whatever it might be. And we need to keep current with times. And that's my feeling on it.
Murray, when we're looking at the attention span today, and I'm not talking about the attention span of viewers or listeners. We have an audience in this show that has an excellent attention span. They recognize that some of the complex issues we're looking at cannot be put into a 30-second soundbite. I'm amazed some of the young journalists in our field are able to make it that concise. You're looking at complex issues, and one of them that came up just before the session started, the possibility that the plans for financing the entire highway program may have to change somewhat radically. You can't cram that in. How can we get this information out into all 33 counties of the state?
I would say that a large part of the burden would be on Governor Johnson through his Secretary for Highway, and I like Pete Run very much. I think they need to do almost a blitz of explaining in detail, sufficient for people to really get grasping, because it's an overwhelming change in what we've done for the last 100 years, I guess, and it frightens me. Marion and I had our teeth shaken a little bit between Socorro and Blaine. I guess it was on I-25, some real bad stretches there, and based on the apparent determination to do State 44 the whole distance, and some of the others on 285, maybe 10 years before they can do a real rebuilding job on I-25. So I think that you're exactly right. People who have any concept at all just what lies ahead as far as tying up this money for not 2 years, for like 10 or 12 years.
Jax, go ahead.
On that point, not relative to the highways, but I think on all legislation, for example, in the national session, we had over 100 special bills come down that we had to consider. And in my committee, I call it my committee, Water Committee, were several overlapping bills. And I felt that it would be inappropriate to try to render a decision and make a law that we'd all have to live by in that short period of time. And that's one of the reasons we passed them on over into the interim committee, so we'd have time to work them out. And I think I see that happening. And I see and looked at that bill in the past, and laws we have passed that were not totally thought out, that when they come to be enacted and worked with in real life, that they're loopholed and gaps in. And so I think that we need to think about these things a little more thoroughly before we make a law.
more time for study.
That's right.
And what we're looking at. When they had a legislative council meeting, I found it fascinating because it was right after criticism from Representative Lujan. He had made the comment, they don't speak for all of us. And at that point, Senator Aragon was complaining that he said, we tried to accommodate the governor. And he said our caucuses indicated the members did not want to come back for a special session. And by the time this is shown, that special session is going to hopefully almost wrapped up. But what he said was that this is what the caucus said. But again, what he said was exactly what Representative Lujan said. The members said we don't want to come back in caucus. And again, you're losing that feel. The governor says the leadership are those two people, and somewhat ignoring the rest. Let's look ahead to the year 2008. There's going to be legislation in this time, I'm not sure how specific, addressing computers and the ability to get computers ready for the year 2000. You feel confident we can handle it, Murray?
Not particularly confident, no. It's a real booby trap sitting out there. We have some great talent in state government, probably as good as you find we're in the country, but they spread pretty thin. And potential disaster out there. Just by way of personal experience, I'm on a board of a small bank in Silver City, and we're going through a major set of planning procedures in order to accommodate it. And state government, compared to that small bank, is into $1 million almost. So I think we may have some stormy weather ahead. I hope people are anticipating it.
Well, we're looking ahead. We've been saying, the millennium's coming, the new millennium. It's here. This next session will have 1 year in which to put this together, and I think it's going to be costly. Chex, you're a scholar. Any feelings in this direction?
Well, yes, I share Murray's concern. However, I have children who are in the business. I have a son who is a systems engineer, and he said it will be worked out. He said it's like everything else when it's due, and people working on it might not be working on it at state level within the state government, but it's all fed in through certain channels and feels that it will be handled. I can't tell you, I kind of feel like that when they give me a computer from the legislature, I don't know how to handle it yet, so I'm lost.
I go back further and say, don't worry, the Titanic is unsinkable. And I believe those things. Chex, let's take a couple of months, if you will. And Murray, you got to go through a nostalgia period. How do you feel about leaving this time in a personal sense?
Well, I will miss the people. I will miss the legislature. I'll miss the people I've met, friends I've made, such as you and your wife, and all the other people Murray indicated, walking down through the hall this morning and visiting with people. But that doesn't mean that I could come back just as a friend and visit with the people. But I have no real aspiration to come back as a legislator. I think that we've did our job best we know how, and hopefully that the thing we did do and the laws that we helped pass will go on and be helpful to the state of New Mexico.
Murray, we have people that now just said Bill Porter is going to have some honest William Porter from Las Cruces, and he's going to be honored during this session. And again, a lawmaker from southern Mexico. We have watched a lot of this. In fact, at the opening of the Legislative Council meeting, it was dripping with acrimony.
Well, too bad.
And you hate to see that. And I hate to look forward to a campaign where you don't discuss issues when you're on personalities. But again, I think it's an appropriate time for you to. I look at Orlando Padilla, who passed away, and he's been an employee up here for years and years, just to work for the old Southern Union. Perfect gentleman. But for the two of you, I have never heard a word of criticism about your demeanor and what you bring to the legislature.
Well, that's a real compliment. I appreciate that. I'm not sure that's true, but I appreciate it.
How about a final word today?
Well, you just figured a spot on the upcoming campaign. As a Republican, I was really embarrassed by the type of tactics used in some individual legislative races. Porter was attacked, Joe Tell, one of the finest gentlemen in the legislature, and the state chairman and his cohorts apparently had the idea to win at any cost. The end will certainly justify the means. We'll take control. Well, I think I have to stop short of that. To indulge in character assassination is just unacceptable. I hate to close on that kind of a negative note. Something I feel very sincerely. Just in final comments, it's been a great, great experience. Hard to realize that many years have gone by. We came up with 3 kids, a Volkswagen, a dog, had a trailer on one of the vehicles. The time's gone by, and just a marvelous experience. Not only at state level, but getting to know our federal legislators. Pete Demitzky is one of the finest leaders I've ever known. Bingman from overseas, Skeen and Edmund, and Congressman Tiff's a fine guy. I think their successors will be fine. But I thank you and your wife personally for the courtesy we've had through the last several years. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Chex, for a word today.
Well, how could I add more to it than what Ray said? I do want to thank you and me for your wonderful friendship that we developed down through the years. It's been a long but short 16 years, and I hope that my behavior in the legislature has been worthy of all the accolades that have been bestowed upon us, and Murray and me both, and we certainly. I'm at a loss of words, Murray. I mean, Ernie, and it's been a great 16 years, and we're pleased to have served the state long.
Well, you've both been us very much, and I know both GX, you're a Democrat, or you're a Republican, gone through periods that really I wish there were more times for us to go into the ethics of some of the problems that came up. And Murray, the respect I have for you ethically up here is something that is almost overwhelming. And I hope both of you will be active in your respective parties. And I hope that both of you will be active in trying to maintain the kind of campaigning that you both have handled over the years, and a number of very good Republicans also, that say we don't want to see campaigning deteriorating. I'm Ernie Mills. We make a special thanks to our guests, the Dean of the New Mexico House of Representatives, Murray Ryan from Silver City, and member for 8 terms, G.X. McSherry, poet and a man not only speaks Spanish fluently, but knows as he is. Ernie Mills, and thank you for being with us. A report from Santa Fe.
Report from Santa Fe is made possible in part by grants from New Mexico Tech on the frontier of science and engineering education. For bachelor's, master's, and PhD degrees, New Mexico Tech is the college you've been looking for. 1-800-428-TECH.